All right, welcome into the half, everybody. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. This fine gentleman right here is Mr. Eric Campbell, and you can find him over at erichcampbell.com. That's Eric with an H. So, Eric,
Sure.
how are you, sir? It's December, it's holiday season. How's it going?
Doing okay, recovering. I don't know. Depends on what kind of market you're in. By the way, we had a really great show today. I just want to say, two regular guys, if you want to get back and check it out, the same place you're seeing this is very likely a channel where you can go check out the two regular guys as well.
That's right.
And if not, tworegularguys.com will have it later on the podcast feed. But great show with Travis Ross today about print on demand. What I'm going to say is, if you have at all been working in a retail facing space over the course of, you know, Thanksgiving weekend here in the US, where we have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and everything else in between, and now running into the holidays, you, like me, have probably had some hours into the wee morning hours answering questions, handling orders. And I know Aaron is like literally shipping product as we speak. I'm sure that just below the
You
camera right here is
hear
real
it, yeah,
product.
like the label printer. No, I'm not doing
Yeah,
it while we're doing this, but
close.
to about 30 seconds before we started, I was.
So yeah, that's how I'm doing. I am happily had a great big Black Friday. So I'm gonna say that great responses. Everybody was talking about Black Friday being soft, but online it was not soft.
I
And we
was going
found
to
that out
say,
later on. The numbers came out where this was a banner Black Friday, and I have to agree, it had a banner Black Friday.
yeah,
But it did
yeah,
mean a lot of, like I said, late nights, managing the channel and
yeah,
being there for questions and customers.
yeah. I was doing data hipstery stuff until about 3
Yes.
a.m. last night, so I should have reached out to you. Now that I think
Oh,
about it, I'm like, Eric was
for
up.
sure, dude.
There's no
Oh yeah, I
chance.
was up. Yeah, I was up. I'm regularly up till 1 and 2 a.m.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
other thing you might want to know, guys, if you sell on Amazon, here's the fun thing: if you're an Amazon seller, you're somebody who works with them, their time resets at on their home clock. So your day ends at, for me, 1 a.m. Mountain Time. So you end at 12 p.m. or at midnight their time.
Gotcha.
That's where your day rolls over. So
I
everyone
see.
wonders,
I
like,
see.
why are you up
Interesting.
till 1 a.m. all the time? Because I'm finishing up any daily stuff and checking my numbers at the end of the day for for
There
the
you go.
Amazon channel. But hey,
There you go.
that's how that
Love it.
works, guys.
All right. So,
E-commerce.
yep, yep. I got Ramona checking in. Good morning, and
Good morning, Rana.
Mo says good morning. Definitely going to watch the replay. Yeah,
Oh yeah, two other guys was a good show today. Aaron,
yeah.
Aaron, and just jumped in with all of his expertise. So between the two of them, just Aaron and Travis were doing incredible work today, for real.
Travis and I probably could have just like, hey Terry, excuse us. We'll be over here
But
chatting.
hey, Terry jumped in. Terry's always good for it, but yeah, Aaron was definitely on his
I was
best
in my
excitement
element. Yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. I had to try to keep out of it too because, as you
yeah. I
guys know,
know.
it's like I
I know.
just talked about it. I have done, even in the embroidery world, I have done a lot of kind of print on demand or fulfillment sites. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good one. I really liked it.
yeah. And Ramona, excuse me, Ramona is burning the midnight oil as well, digitizing from dawn
Yes.
to midnight. So
That is how
very
it
good.
is. I mean, that's how it is. And oh, hello, Robin. Robin Cook says hello. First time watching. Thanks for being in, Robin. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a question and answer kind of show. So yes, we are garment decorating people, but we are also massive e-commerce people. So if it's sublimation, embroidery, or e-commerce, we have a lot to say about that. If you have questions or comments, things you want to talk about in that space or any part of the garment decoration space, by all means, react with us live. We like to hear your questions and comments, and we will answer whatever we can. So,
Yeah.
old digitizer and embroiderer here. So
Yeah.
the thread ones are usually mine.
Yeah, exactly. Go up. That's for Eric.
Let's do it.
Well, yeah, and like you said, yeah, we can answer anything. I mean, honestly, you talked about all those things,
Hmm.
e-commerce. I mean, you know me, I love talking business. I love talking
Hmm.
foundation. I love talking success
Always.
principles.
Yes.
Whatever. So, uh, Robin, again, thanks for joining us and jumping in here. Just we're looking for questions from you guys. So,
Yes.
Robin, got to do it within 30 minutes. Yeah,
That is,
that's the
yes,
trick.
that is the
That's
one too.
yeah.
We cut off pretty sharply.
Yes, and because we have to do that intentionally, because Eric and I have been known to, yeah, we could go for a long time if you didn't give us a stopping point.
Yeah, the other shows call it bonus time, or at least our other shows we call it bonus time. But it's hard when the bonus time happens every time.
That's right. Well, here's the deal. Yeah, if you are an embroiderer, and Robin says I'm fairly new to embroidery, can learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's. if you're looking for information, you need to make sure that you're really tuned into the Take Up, because once a week Eric brings college level, and not saying like it's like super advanced that you can't understand it, but it, you're doing an hour and a half every week, Eric.
I
I
really
mean,
do. Yeah. I would check that out if you have something. There's a whole list. If you go to erichcampbell.com, which is on the bottom of your screen right now, at the top of that website is a tab that says the Take Up, and then you get the whole list. And generally, the current show is always up there as well. So, like I said, it's what I do. I talk about embroidery all the time. Today, we're talking about stock designs. I usually take questions directly from this. I get questions every day via email, via social. Those questions become the show every week. So what's funny is I've had some people email back and go, "Man, it was really fortuitous. I can't believe you answered a question just like mine on Friday after I asked you on Wednesday." I'm like, that is not fortuitous. That was your show. I made your show that week because
there
it was
you
a
go.
good topic. So
Yeah.
you may get your show. You never know. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
But
it.
yeah, take up is where I do that. But I also want to mention, you want to talk about success and being in business. Uh, oursuccessgroup.com. That is what Aaron does. There is coaching going on. I can't wait to see the new coaching thing you're doing with Volley. I think that's very interesting. The short coaching times, you can just jump in, do this
Yep.
asynchronous video coaching. Really cool stuff going on. But for all things that Aaron talks about with business, go to oursuccessgroup.com. Check it out. They have an incredible group with a lot of great education.
Yeah.
So
And if
we're
you want to,
promoting each other as we go.
there you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, it's really cool to be able to kind of share. And
For
while you're
sure.
over there at oursuccessgroup.com, yeah, if you want to check
Yes.
out that new program that you were mentioning, Eric, yeah, just in the top right button, there's a little button up there that says "Consult with me." It's got the
Yeah, it's
little
awesome.
peace sign from Volley. That's their
Super
site.
cool new
So,
stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
check it out. There's tons of people who are out there, and honestly, there's lots of great groups. So this is not just go to our stuff. I mean, embroidery nerds doing great stuff for embroidery.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a ton of people who've been in the space forever who are doing stuff. The Joyce Jaggers, and there's a ton of people.
Yeah,
There's a ton of
for
people. I
sure.
won't say that there's only one way, but yeah, we love to help.
Yep. Robin says, perfect. Yes, this is what I need.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So glad to have you, Robin. Exciting to get
But
new
yeah.
folks coming along, but we also appreciate, in fact, we got Lyndon. Hello. Good
Awesome,
morning
Lyndon.
from North Carolina. And Ramona talking about, but the sharp, it can be fun. We do try to make it fun. Sometimes we
We
try a
don't
little
always
too
get it.
hard.
Yeah, we don't always get it, but sometimes we cut each other off in the middle of sentences, often on purpose.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
won't
say,
lie, it's
sometimes we
staged
set it up.
sometimes.
Sometimes it's just I
Sometimes we
forget
just
that
cut
I
it off.
keep talking, and Eric's like, "All right, cut
Done.
you off, buddy." All right, well,
But
let's get
yeah,
into some questions, guys.
let's
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
it.
What questions you guys have?
By
Um,
all means.
bring up anything that's happening, what's going on. Let's see here. Let's see if I got a question for you, Eric.
To you now.
All
I'll take one. Let's
right,
go.
I'll throw one at you here. Okay,
All
so
right.
we've been talking about e-commerce, right? And you
Sure.
talked about how Black Friday. How do you follow that up? How, like, I know a lot of times, you've got the Black Friday, Cyber
Yep.
Monday,
Yep.
maybe a little stuff kind of leading up, but then there's this like crash, right? How do you
Yes.
how do you kind of try to do your best to level that out?
The first thing I'm going to say is it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday are intake. That's not necessarily output. You have to be really clear about how that output's going to go and your actual production times,
Yep.
because there's still not, yes, there's a crash of intake of orders. The thing I'm going to say too is just watch your numbers. People get really excited about Black Friday and don't realize, like, okay, I'll just be honest with you about some numbers I recently had where I had an incredible Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but then Tuesday was dead. Like,
Hmm.
that was a rough day.
Yeah.
That often happens. So calculate it like any other week, any other month. Yes, it's going to be a big time. Realize that you're going to have you're going to have what I always call the shopping day hangover.
Yeah.
Any of the big sale shopping days, there is a hangover right after where people think there's no deals going on. If you are using deals or marketing towards some sort of special offer, keep that marketing up. And also, a lot of us get really confused about how often we should market. If you look at the big players in the business, they're sometimes mailing daily. Now, I think that can be overkill, but certainly when I'm seeing people in our business mailing once a month, sending out, barely boosting anything, barely marketing at all, and not really pushing, you can keep your messaging up, and you should keep your messaging up. And in fact, what I'm going to tell you is there's an entire market of people who like, if not anti Black Friday, they like to see extended promotions, extended special offers that go beyond it, where you tell them, this is part of a marketing strategy I've used before, hey, I know Black Friday is stressful. We're going to keep it up for the next few days afterwards. Usually, the funny thing is, usually in marketing, you're going to say, I want urgency all the time. I'm going to give hot cutoffs. I'm going to make sure
Uh-huh.
it's a real small flash sale. You can also play the opposite of tropes like that and say, hey, we're not going to do a flash sale. We're here for you, and we're going to be here for this period of time. Or preempt Black Friday by doing your deal earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Come in earlier and have the cutoff previous to Black Friday.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can play different versions of this. So I feel like there's just not it's not one answer to it. But what I will say is that you can't calculate everything and be like, man, awesome Black Friday. But if you've got a dip before and a dip after, you need to kind of look at this thing as part of the overall, Q4 and part of the overall month that you're working on. And definitely think about the fact that you can have promotions before and after. And no matter what, you should be keeping up your messaging throughout this quarter. Like you should have started your messaging early, and you should be keeping up your messaging and telling your story about what's interesting and available in your space throughout. Don't let off the gas now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
really
like that.
tempting when you're busy to let off the gas of marketing. Don't let off the gas now.
Yeah.
Keep that pedal down. It's better if you preload, and if you can't, here's the thing too. We get obsessive about having these big, heavily crafted campaigns. You can have a short message with a nice looking graphic or a small video and send it out and do something quick but consistent, and you're better off than doing nothing or waiting for the big perfect thing
Yeah.
you're trying to produce.
Yep.
Just
Those
true.
are all. Yep. 100% gold on all that stuff, Eric. I love, especially that last piece there, right? People try to see, because here's the way I look at it, right? Is there's definitely this fine line. Most of us,
Yeah,
I even had a Small Business Saturdays episode talking about overcoming perfectionism, right?
totally.
And because the point there is, I'm not saying just I don't care. I'm just going to throw out whatever, right? That I
No,
was
no,
very clear about that point. My point was, I want you to put something out there that you're proud of, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So that's that tipping point, right? Okay, I put enough effort into that. I can do a quick video. I can do a nice graphic. I
yeah,
can, have a clear, consistent message. I think that was the word that you used, Eric, that I think is
yeah,
100%
yeah,
important. And then kind of take that and just run with it, right? And so you put it out there, you're going to learn from that, and then you're going to take that feedback, and it's going to get better, right? It'll never be
yes.
perfect, but you can always get it out there. But until you get it out there, you'll never know whether it's as close to perfect as you can make it or not.
Well,
So
I think the other thing that happens is we get worried about having a perfect message or
yeah,
showing a specific thing that we think is going to make
yep,
or break our company, whether it's the kind of product we show. Truth of the matter is, there are lots of people who don't know what they want. I think more people are researchers than they've ever been. So you do have to worry about inbound marketing and making sure that you have, if you're selling products, you should be making sure you've got clear, disambiguation for what products do
yep,
what or
yep,
are for what, and you have good explanations of everything. Absolutely, your pages need to be in line, and your landing pages and stuff need to be good. But when you're talking about what you're going to market, if you're sweating too much about what part of your business to market, find something you have some trust in, and get it out there. Because the one thing
yeah. What
that,
are you
that
good
is
at?
not useful is just not getting your message out. And I don't
Right.
want to go, the old one is always, what is it, Gretzky? You miss all the shots you don't take. Everybody always says that one. So I
Yeah.
hate to trot that out, but there's some truth to
People
it.
say this
And
stuff for a reason, though. It's
yeah, they
true,
do.
right?
And especially at the very end of it, when you're working up the thing, you've actually gotten yourself the motivation to work up your message. If you find yourself like adjusting little fine points of the design,
Yeah.
adjusting little
Yeah.
bits of, get to a point where you're like, all right, if you have rewritten the same sentence 15 times and they're about the same each time, this is a signal to you that you're like, all right, I'm delaying because I'm a little
Yeah.
afraid of what might happen when I send.
Yep.
It's time to kick it. It's time
Yeah.
to kick it out.
Yeah.
Get it out there
So you make me think about.
for sure.
We've got a lot of things to cover here now, so I want
Sure,
to
sure.
get to all
Let's
this.
go for it.
But you brought up a couple of points there I wanted to make real quick. So you're exactly right, right? If you're rewriting that sentence over and over and over again, I think about like the message from our success group, or kind of what it is that we do. What's the story? What's the problem
Mhm.
that we solve, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I've put out, I don't know, hundreds of things. I mean, I've got a Google Doc that's got 13 pages of all of my kind of musings of what this is and trying this on. And then, I
Sure.
go and I ask somebody like Eric, hey, Eric, what do you think of this? Right. And then I get good feedback and I put it out there, and,
Mhm.
and people, I share it with somebody and they have this look on their face like, what the hell are you talking about? I go, okay, well, now I need to see which part of me saying this are they confused by, right? So it's that process. But if you're just doing it all yourself over and over and you're never actually getting it out there, then you're never going to get anywhere. And I think that's
Oh yeah.
that was the point you were making. I just want to make sure people really understood that.
Oh, for real. I mean, not only that, but um, the other thing I want to make it clear for people is just because it doesn't work, the thing that you said doesn't work doesn't mean the idea was necessarily bad. It can be the timing. It can also be who you targeted it to.
Uh-huh.
This is another thing I've talked about a million times. I had somebody discuss with me where they were talking about how this business idea didn't work out, and they kind of were getting down on it. And I said, you know what? You have to realize though that number one, you taking the shot is important. Getting in reps is what I always say. Getting in reps, being out there and exposing yourself to honestly to potential issues can be an issue there. You need to get out there and deal with some of the problems of actually failing and having to start back up. That is useful.
Yeah.
Also, fitness of any idea, anything. I always talk about it in this kind of evolutionary way, right? So I talk about it like an animal. An animal is fit for an environment. If the environment changes drastically around the animal, the fitness of the animal goes down without the animal changing at all. So if suddenly the environment, fish are really poor animals for the top of a tree. If you throw a fish to the top of a tree, the fish that is very well suited to being underwater is no longer very well suited to its environment. It doesn't mean anything was wrong with the fish. It's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It's not where it's supposed to be. So
Sure.
it can be that you're just not in the environment you need to be for that idea to work.
Yeah.
So there are many reasons why things happen, which is why we have to divorce a little bit of that, of the importance we put on that, where we're like, man, something's wrong with me because my idea didn't take off.
Yeah, totally. No.
Totally
Okay, so real quick, I gotta go backwards 1 second. And Robin,
Sure.
we got your question.
Yeah, we'll jump a little bit on
You don't
that.
need to hold it for the take up. You can also get some information on take up too. But
Sure, let's
Robin,
do
we're
it.
gonna get to your question just 1 second. It's a fantastic one. But I wanted to go backwards when we were talking about the marketing thing too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the one thing I also wanted to share, and I think Ramona talks a little bit about this, but I'm even going to go further than this. She says,
Sure.
we have a local store that promotes all month of November, something like who wants to do all the shopping in one day, come here all month, right? So you were talking about that, Eric, just kind of try something different, do something a little bit unique in that sense. So I also would say, go take that thought even further. Sometimes we get caught in the, oh my gosh, Amazon e-commerce was huge. These Black Friday specials. I need to be doing that. I should be doing what these guys are doing. But don't forget about kind of what is working for you already, or what could be. There's so many opportunities like right under our noses that I've got to go set up an Etsy store. I've got to go do this. I've got to learn how to get all this information. Where if you just got up out of your chair and went to the local breakfast place and said, hey, I do this, or you went to a networking event, or you walked in a photographer's store and said, hey, I'm a sublimator, for example. We've got one of our members in the Masters of Success, our mastermind group, in our success group, that was just talking about the fact that she has a day job. She's a nurse full time, and on her way home from her day job, she called one of the local photographers just to see if there was any opportunity to collaborate. And on that drive home, she got this partnership collaboration that they're very excited about, and they're going to do some stuff, right? And so she didn't have to set up an e-commerce store. She didn't have to do any of that, right? She was able to just do that kind of thing. So that was the other idea I wanted to.
Well, and not to mention, just to very quickly add on that,
yeah.
One of the best places to get sales are your existing customers. They've already tipped. They already trust you. They know what you're doing. If you give them another opportunity to buy something different they might not know about, they're more likely to tip with you than a brand new customer. Customer acquisition always costs more than increased penetration to your existing customer base. It just does. It costs more per conversion. That's just how the rule is, at least up to this date. I mean, maybe things change someday, but that is something that's just real. So getting things out to your customers, the customers don't know everything you're capable. You have to show them.
Yeah.
You have to show them what can be done. They don't know. They're not steeped in it like we are.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we've got so many. You're exactly right. So where's the? Don't forget the low hanging fruit, I guess, is really the thing. I was talking to a gentleman last night in our office hours that we do for our success group members, and he was talking about he's got a realtor friend. And just in talking to his realtor friend about what he does, and it's a side gig for him, But his realtor friend's like, oh, so you could do this, and now all of a sudden, this possibility to expand into doing like, housewarming type gifts for
Mm-hmm.
realtors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened he just had a buddy that's a realtor that he was talking to, and now this is going to potentially expand into a whole new market for him. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
absolutely. I mean, don't ignore these connections.
yeah, for sure. All right, so Barb says hello, happy Friday to everybody. All right, let's get to
Let's
this.
get
Is a
this to Robin. It's a good question.
this is a really good question. So I'll read it, Eric, and I'll let you
All right.
jump in first. When it comes to a small embroidery business, do you think it's best to have a specific niche to sell or many options?
I don't want to give you a weasel answer and say it depends. Sometimes it depends, but here's what I'm going to say about niche marketing. I think that a lot of people mistake niche marketing for saying you can only sell into a niche.
Correct.
Usually, niche marketing really, how I've used it, is you sell into a niche you know really well to get yourself established and get some work going through the door because you speak their language, because you know what they need. It's easy to solve their problems. The one I always explain, I used to play folk music. I know it's a weird thing, but I did.
Hmm.
And I knew a bunch of people who played folk music and had weird little instruments that nobody made any merch for. So I started making merch for those
There
people.
you go.
And I made a fair amount of money making tote bags for folk instrument people. This was as a tiny store that was inside of a regular decorating shop. In fact, it was a large decoration shop. We weren't doing all that well right then. That's why I was allowed to play these games and enjoy trying this stuff. But I got to essentially run a small business. The shop that I was at was a big business to business shop. And way before the era of print on demand, I was individually fulfilling orders as they came in. I mean, this is back
Yeah.
in the day when I had to add my own cart to my website. Like people were afraid to use their money online
Yeah.
when I did this. Um, that example, the reason I keep bringing it up is because it's like that is a great place to say this is where I took orders in, but it didn't shape the entire business we were doing. We were doing
Yeah.
tremendous amounts of business to business
Yeah.
work and classic decorating for, the joke is always the plumber down the street. That's the one that Terry uses, but that's the kind of stuff we were doing most days. But the embroidery machine doesn't know that. And so I ran a small niche business. And when I help people with niche marketing, it's usually that they have a trouble with the concept of selling or they feel weird about selling stuff, and coming out to a niche and offering cool stuff that niche needs, that you're part of the niche, so you kind of feel like you're recommending things to a friend, is easier to get your sales going. But that doesn't mean you should deny other orders if they fit your the way that you're set up. The one big difference is I see people with small embroidery businesses try and take on jobs that are really meant for large multi-head setups.
Yeah.
Machines like I have in my green screen back here. And they've got a single head and they're running massive numbers of shifts and they're only able to do one garment at a time. And that is a bad fit for them. They probably should have outsourced it because they're not really making a ton of money and they're tying up all their production.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I worry about. When I see a small embroidery business, when they're taking on jobs that are really meant for large producers that have different kinds of margins, that's more concerning to me by far than like different types of sales. I
Yeah.
mean, for real, that's the thing. When you can have all these places. Plus, the other thing is, I used to run e-commerce where, yes, there was one big shop behind it, but each one of the stores had an audience, and the messaging and the way the store looked was different from each audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did multiple company stores that all fed to the same set of machines.
Yeah.
So you can have multiple niches. I just think for most small people starting out, selling to a niche is a good way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yep, yep.
Ramona says, Eric, you mean those orders for 500 hats in a week?
Yeah, single head folks who are set up and they get 1,000-piece order. And I'm going to tell you, as a person who came from a larger shop, or at least a mid-sized shop is what I'd call it, because it wasn't a big contract shop, a mid-sized custom shop. I can't tell you how many times I had a single head operator come in and say, I've got a single head in my garage and I have been running 24 hours a day. Is there some way you can get me a deal where I can make enough money to get even on X order, and how quick can you get it? I oversold my capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Or
All right.
used to.
So is it my turn now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. So this, I am different than Eric, where I do not waver on this. I am 100% a small startup. I believe has to, right? I don't think it's an option. I think you have to have a specific niche to sell to when you're starting off. And here's why. And this is what we do inside of our success group. We've got a whole way. Like Eric said, the thing is to get over the fact that just because you're focusing on a niche, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do other things, right? By focusing in on that niche, that's going to allow you to have a very clear message in a very comfortable way, like you talked about. Most of the time people, when they're starting off, get involved in a niche that they're already a part of, right? You mentioned your folk music stuff, right? So that allowed you that comfort to go, I know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I can talk about the instruments that nobody else knows about, and then at the same time say, hey, and I also have a patch for you, I also have a hat for you, and right. So the whole point of this is I want that niche to be so targeted that I feel like I'm having a conversation with one person. Because once I do that, then my message is uber clear. Like if I'm talking to Eric about what Eric needs, and and I've taken some time to learn a little bit about Eric, right? Then I can easily tell him how I can help him.
Yeah.
And then here's what happens. I want to focus on that one person because I also want that one person to be somebody that I'm going to love doing business with. So I get in the flow, right? We've all had that opportunity. I think if you've been in business any period of time where you look back and you go, if I just had 100 more customers like Eric, right? If Eric is my target market, if I had 100 more customers like Eric, everything would be great.
Yeah.
The reality is there are 100 more customers like Eric out there. Your message just isn't clear enough for them to find you. Right. So that's why like I said, I start there and let's get super clear. And then you're going to start putting stuff out there, right? You're going to try it on and you're going to see what works. And, like I was talking about with the gentleman who talked to his realtor friend, he was trying to figure out, and he just talked to him and that evolved. And now I can do this. And so, yeah, I guess my take on it is very clear. I go so far as to, especially new people, you've got somebody like Barb here who's been doing it for a while and has that basis, right? I find my current returning customers are our best advertising system. So she's got her core, and then they're going to bring other stuff in. I will quickly, we got time. I don't want to cut off on this. So story I always use about niche is this guy named Brett Bowden. He's with Printed Threads. You know Brett, Eric. And
of course.
He's a band guy. Like if you looked up band guys in the dictionary, he like his picture's right there, I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
And he decided that what he was going to do was merch for bands, and he decided that he was going to become the very best in that space and merch for small bands like he was, right? The guys that weren't doing the big, they wanted to have the cool stuff like the Metallicas, but they didn't have the budget for it, right? So he was going to become the very best in that space, rock and roll, boom. Well, he got so good at being that in his space in Fort Worth, Texas, that eventually the Dallas Mavericks said, hey, we're looking to do something a little more rock and roll theme, right? And so they started asking around, and everybody's like, well, Brett's your guy. Brett's the guy. He's the best, right? And so they came to him. He printed for them. He did such a great job. Now he still prints for them to this day. And he's not a sports guy, right? I mean, he's definitely not a sports guy. But yet his niche expanded so where he could do that just because he focused on being the very best in his space. So anyway.
I think that's where we agree. I think that's where, and honestly, I don't think we actually can diverge very much on this. It's that people get afraid that they can't expand or move to another niche. I mean,
Correct.
you can, but here's the deal. You can't steer a parked car. You have to take a direction, and changing directions is fine. Changing your mind is the sign of someone who's analyzing and watching the situation, not someone who's failed.
Yeah.
You can change your mind when you get new information. That's great. We should all do that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you start in a niche, like Aaron says, start in a niche and perfect that niche, get your operating procedures together, something we talked about on Tutor Guys today.
Yeah.
And if you get good at what you're doing so that you are known, so that you have that process, when other things come your way, you can choose to take those opportunities if they make sense to you. And when they're not your opportunities, sometimes you can burn things off so you understand where you should be putting your energy. And all that comes from starting with some focus, and also some focus. Just, I know it sounds funny, but everybody thinks that creativity comes from having all the options in the world. Creativity comes from constriction. Really. I can't tell you enough, as someone who's done design work a lot, constriction sometimes is the best thing we can give ourselves, because that extra opportunity can sometimes make it crippling.
Yeah, paralysis for sure.
For sure, man.
Great question, Robin.
Wow.
And
thank you, Robin.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very good.
I just want to make sure we got to this comment too. I didn't mean to skip over it, Barb. Sorry.
We're good.
So when you were talking about, showing stuff, making sure you get it out there, Barb says, I agree. It's
Yes.
important to show your customers what you offer. I have samples of different items for DTF, embroidery, sublimation. So the opportunities are going to come and grow if you are willing to put yourself out there and do that. Again, it's not like you got to go jump up on stage in front of a million people. You have to basically show up, right? Just tell somebody what you're doing.
Show up, be consistent, and show the kind of work you want to do.
Yep. All right. Peace.
I got ready to cut you off and everything. I was going to ask
I
you an
know.
inflammatory question about customers or something.
I know. There's too much good stuff happening there. Great question. Robin, make sure you check out the Take Up today. Also, you guys tell your friends about the half. Let's get more people involved so we can ask more
let's do
questions
it.
and learn more. Okay?
Thank you for being here, folks.
Have a good weekend.